Aloha and welcome to this module on professional personas. I'm really excited about this module because I think that this is one of the most important things that you can get out of this class. Besides, of course, actually learning how to program and learning how to use the tools and technologies for software engineering, I think that one of the things that I want all of you to do after this class is to have grown in your perspective about what it means to be a professional. Okay, being a professional has to do with a lot more than simply being able to churn out 500 lines of code per day. And that's what this module is doing. It's kind of pushing you off on what's actually a career-long process of presenting yourself to the world in a professional way. Okay, so what I term your professional persona is your online presence that you want to see, you want to be seen by your colleagues and employers. Okay, and this professional persona can either make you more attractive to prospective employers or less attractive. It just depends upon how you portray yourself. And so in this class, what we're going to do is try to help you learn how it is that you can portray yourself in as attractive a way as possible. Okay? Now there's an interesting side effect to that, and that's that as you start to work on your professional persona, you start to, in many cases, realize that there's actual gaps in your experiences or your knowledge or your skills that make you not as attractive as you might like to be. And that's a really nice side effect. By discovering that yourself, you have the opportunity to actually fix it. Okay? And so one of the reasons I'm excited that this course is now at the 300 level versus the 400 level is that now you have the opportunity to try to develop a professional persona over the course of more than just one remaining semester. Okay, so a lot of people have come into 413 and they've started to work on this and they went, holy smokes, I don't have much to show to prospective employers about what I've actually accomplished. And I don't have much time to actually fix it because I'm about to graduate. Okay, oftentimes people take 413 their last semester. Okay, and that's not good. So 314, I'm happy about, helping you guys earlier in your college career because there's all sorts of opportunities as you work as an ICS student to do things that improve your persona, your professional presence. Okay, so there's several things that that comprise your professional persona, at least the way that I view it in this class. One is a professional portfolio that you're going to develop throughout the course of this semester and hopefully continue to work on. An engineering log, which is a blog that you keep that talks about professional and technical issues and gives people a chance to evaluate your writing skills, which is crucially important to being attractive to employers. Participation in social networks that are of a professional nature like LinkedIn or TechHui. And finally, and last but definitely not least, is actual participation in open source projects so that you can point a prospective employer to code that you've written, hopefully with other people, and demonstrate concretely the skills that you've mastered. Okay. Oh, it's not last but not least. Second last. Okay, so that was the penultimate thing, and the final thing is participation in technical societies like ACM. So let's start off by talking about the professional portfolio. What that is, it's a website that's going to provide a way for a recruiter to learn more about you than would be possible with a resume. So most of you, if you write a resume, you're going to be counseled to keep it to one page, and that's really good advice. A resume at your level of professional development should be 1 page long, but you're not going to be able to say much in 1 page about what it is exactly that you can do. So what you can have in your resume is a link, one-liner that shows a link to the URL for your professional portfolio And now you've got the chance to provide lots and lots of detail, and recruiters can drill down as far as they want to learn about what it is that you've been able to accomplish. And that's going to give them a much more three-dimensional view of you than the resume could. Okay, and I'm hoping that you get a good start on this portfolio this semester, and then you continue to work on it in future semesters so that, as you add new skills and capabilities, you keep this thing up to date. Okay, and we're going to use one particular technology, Google Sites, in order to do it. There's WordPress, there's a lot of other ways to do it, but in order to, we're going to have this standard for this class, which is Google Sites. And the nice thing about that is that you can learn from each other. If everybody picked their own technology for doing this, then it will be harder for people because you'll have less people to talk to about it. So here's an example of a portfolio done last year, Remy Baumgarten, and that's the home page, and you can see up in the left corner there's some projects that he's worked on. He's got links to a news article about one of the things that he's done, this kind of overview paragraph, a link to the resume, and then you can drill down to a specific project that he's worked on called Heap, and here you can see there's a little screen dump of the gadget that he created and a little bit of helpful text talking about how he did it. Okay, and then I think later below there's actually a link to the source code, so that if a recruiter wanted to actually see the JavaScript that he created, they could get there. Okay, the second component is an online engineering log, and the idea is that this is a blog that you'll keep devoted to technical topics, and I'm going to be kind of priming the pump for your online engineering log this semester, because many of the assignments that I'll give you will have as part of the submission requirements that you write a technical article about the particular technology or software engineering skill or problem that you were working on. Okay, and the idea is that this online engineering log is going to give a prospective employer a really good way to see the level of writing that you're capable of. Okay, so here's an example of I went to the online engineering log for a student from last year, and lo and behold, I noticed that the most recent entry was July 25th, so that's just a couple of weeks ago. So this particular student is still maintaining his engineering log, many months after the course is over, so I was very happy to see that. And you can see one of his popular posts is why every student should take a software engineering course, so I hope you read that particular entry if you need any further motivation to take this class. And you can see that it's, this particular one is he's talking about a irking problem that he encountered while working with ASP.NET, and talks about the issues and then how he solved it and so forth. And that's a perfect little nugget of information that he can post on his blog, and other people might find that useful, and then potential employers can kind of look through his posts and get a sense for the kinds of technical issues that he's encountered. Now, one of the problems in this class that occurs by virtue of the fact that I am assigning many of these engineering log post topics to you is that there's an inevitable tendency for you to write the blog to me, okay? Because I asked for it, so you're writing it back, Professor Johnson, blah, 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 okay? That's not good, because my ultimate goal for this is that this should be a showcase of your ability to write to a general audience, okay? So even though I'm going to be assigning topics, I want you to be constructing blog entries that talk about the topic to anybody in the world who would happen to stumble across that URL, okay? So the way I summarize that is by saying write for the world, not the teacher, okay? And many times my comment will be, when I'm grading one of your submissions, is this looks like a homework assignment submission, not an engineering log entry, okay? So the basic idea is that any software engineering professional should be able to read your entry, understand it, and then gain some insight into the technical problem and maybe a little bit into you as well. So you can certainly provide your professional or your personal perspective on this particular problem, or your personal perspective on the technology. It's totally fine during the course of the semester. I'm going to have you be using, like find bugs, and you might write an entry where you express your complete hatred for find bugs or frustration with find bugs. And that kind of personal perspective is completely valid and legal in the context of these engineering logs. What's not legal or appropriate is to write an entry that only I, as the professor of this class, or only the students actually taking software engineering fall 2011 would have any hope of understanding. Okay? So you've got to somehow divorce yourself from your particular class and your particular classmates when you write this thing, and think about, how do I give enough context when I'm discussing this problem that someone can understand what I'm trying to express and gain some insight into it without having actually taken this particular course at this particular point in time. Okay? So this is different from submitting a homework assignment. In many cases it will be part of a homework assignment submission, but it's not merely that. Okay? And I think that's gonna, some of you will struggle with that, or you'll get, it'll be late at night and you're just cranking it out, and you'll just take the easy path. But that I will be asking you to fix it, and kind of grading you less well because of that. Okay. Now, so for example, if you look at an engineering log entry, okay, and if it's written for the broader population, then you might know nothing about ICS software engineering, nothing about the robocode assignment, but you learn something interesting about the technology and the person that's interacting with it. Okay, and even if you already know a lot about robocode, it's fun to read about this particular issue. Okay, when a log is written as the submission requirements for a homework assignment, then basically the goal of those kinds of entries is to say, okay, I finished. Give me my grade. I finished. I did it correctly. I want all the points. Okay, that's not interesting for anybody else to read about. Okay, it's not actually even interesting for me as the professor to read. Okay, and you won't get full points for that particular approach. Okay, so this is a writing intensive class. The engineering logs are your the mechanism that I'm using to help you learn about how to do technical writing by doing it. I expect that the technical writing at the end of the semester will be far better than the technical writing at the beginning of the semester, which is totally okay, because most employers, when they go to your engineering log, they're going to read the most recent entries, not the very first ones probably. Okay, and so they'll see your work after you become more practiced at it. Okay, and so I use the homework assignments as a way to create topics for you to write about in order to practice the art of technical writing. Okay, so here's some hints. The default text width for Blogger, which is the standard that we'll be using for the engineering log, is not wide enough. You can't put very much code into it, so you have to customize the format. Okay, you'll be graded off repeatedly if your format isn't correctly. I do have a sample format that you can, a template that you can use if you want your blog to look like mine. You must provide headings, so a blog entry shouldn't just be 17 paragraphs of text, but you should provide some logical structure to it. If you include source code, use tags to make sure that once you enter a source code area that there's indentation and monospaced fonts and so forth. Make sure if your system is set up for Chinese or Japanese or an Asian, Korean, whatever, that you that it looks right when viewed in a standard Western operating system setup. And of course, use correct grammar and spelling. That's harder for non-native speakers, but is hard for everybody. Okay, so all of you will should improve with respect to spelling, grammar, lucid thinking through the process of working on this engineering log this semester. Okay, the third component is working on open source projects. So what's great about open source projects is that the code is public, other people can look at it, and this is a great way for you to show your chops to prospective employers, and what technologies you actually have concrete experience with. Okay, so we'll use Google Project Hosting as the way to make the code that we write in an open source fashion universally available to everybody. And Google Project Hosting has a number of other software engineering benefits that you'll realize throughout the course of the semester. By the end of the semester, you'll wonder how you ever did anything productive at all without a project hosting service like Google Project Hosting, or there's GitHub, or there's SourceForge. There's a few of them out there. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. I don't claim that Google Project Hosting is the best, but it's pretty good, and it's the one we'll be choosing. Fourth thing is a professional social network: LinkedIn, Plaxo, TechHui. And the idea there is that you want to start making connections with other professionals. That's a good way to find jobs and increase your visibility within your field. In this class, you're going to join TechHui, which is a local professional network. Here's an example of the home page. And this is a great thing for those of you who think, oh, there's no jobs in Hawaii. I have to go to California to get a job after I graduate. Not so. Okay, there's a lot of interesting jobs here in Hawaii. There's not as many as in California, for sure. On the other hand, in California, there's a lot more competition for those jobs. And my way of thinking is that if you get involved early in the local high-tech community, then you're more likely to be aware of the cool job that's exactly what you've been searching for at the time that it becomes available, and you'll know the people to contact, and you'll get that job, and you'll be able to stay here. Which my self-interest is not to educate students so they can go have their career in California, right? I work for the University of Hawaii. I'm a state employee. Quite frankly, my goal is to try to promote the local high-tech community, and part of that means producing students out of UH that are skilled software engineers, and also it's somehow connecting them to the local high-tech community so that we keep you folks who are the talented next generation of software developers here locally and build this industry. There's lots of companies that are struggling because they don't have the kind of talent that they need to take their technologies to the next level. So I want to help you guys get those chops that are needed, and then help you guys find those jobs that are out there. So that's the reason why I want you to connect to TechHui from kind of a self-interest point of view, is that I'm hoping that that many of you will discover that you can stay here in Hawaii and get a well-paying job that has stimulating problems, and you work with cool people, and you get to stay in Hawaii, which is the best place on earth. Okay, then there's technical societies. For example, there's the ACM student chapter, there's Top Coder, there's lots of different other kinds of things. Okay? So the professional persona, while you're going to start it in this class, you're not going to hopefully end it in this class. It's not just a one semester project, it's kind of a career-long project, because as you accumulate things to do, you can add them to your persona. Now, common thing that people feel at this point, and it's going to be for the 314 students, you might even feel this more than the 413 students did in past, is this sense of, I haven't done it, I have nothing to say in my professional persona. Okay? And so what I want to say in answer to that is that first, if you do a little bit of thinking, you'll find that actually there are a few things that you can put into your professional portfolio. And then secondly, okay, if there isn't that many projects that you can put in there, or kind of concrete work products, or projects that you can point to and say, I did this, I did that. All right. If you can't find that, then I challenge you to look at the remainder of your ICS career or undergraduate studies as your chance to have projects to add to your professional portfolio. And if your coursework is not providing that, you need to go to the professor and say, listen, I want to build up my professional portfolio. I want this class to provide me with something that I can add to my professional portfolio. Help me to do that. And I can tell you quite confidently that all of the ICS professors will be delighted to have a student that comes in that sees the need to do that and is asking for a way that you can help them organize their work in that particular class in such a way that they get something out of it like that. Another thing you can do is talk to Gerald Lau, okay, who, if you explain to him that you want to build up your professional portfolio, he's got all sorts of ideas about things that you can do, okay. He sponsors the ICS Gray Hats competition, which is a security-related project and competition that occurs every year, and that's a great addition to your professional portfolio. So there's lots and lots of things that you can do, as long as you're motivated, as long as you see that this is something that you can get out of your ICS undergraduate program, and you can. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.